Hamas on Saturday freed 6 Israeli hostages, the last living captives to be released under the first phase of a fragile truce. Freedom for the captives caps an emotional 2 days in Israel with a joy of being reunited. The deal aims to bring a permanent end to the fighting and freeing of all hostages. Tripti Tripathi reports.
Tears of joy flowed as the family of Israeli hostage Tal Shoham watched him walk free after 505 days in Hamas captivity. In Rafah, southern Gaza, Shoham was made to address a crowd surrounded by armed, masked fighters. His release was part of the first phase of a fragile truce, which saw at least 5 Israeli hostages freed. In exchange, Palestinian prisoners are set to be released in the coming days. Among those handed over to the Red Cross in central Gaza were Elia Cohen, Omer Shem Tov, and Omar Venkert. A similar joy was seen when family members of Israeli hostage Avera Mengistu watched their loved ones being released. Avera Mengistu, held for over a decade, embraced his siblings at last. A similar wave of relief swept through Tel Aviv's Hostages Square as families reunited with their loved ones. Helicopters carrying freed hostages were met with applause and dancing, but many remain, around 60 captives, less than half of whom are believed to be alive.
I'm just hoping that they're going to continue with their releases. There is more than dozens of young men are waiting, and one of them, it's my son. He's an American citizen, he's alive, and he's still waiting to be released.
The body of Israeli hostage Shiri Bibas was identified at the Institute of Forensic Medicine days after a case mistaken identity. The remains of her 2 boys were verified on Friday. The ceasefire has so far seen 24 living Israeli hostages freed from Gaza in exchange for more than 1,100 Palestinian prisoners released from Israeli jails. The first phase of a ceasefire deal, which began on January 19 and is due to expire in early March. Confirming the second phase of ceasefire deal, Hamas said that they can carry out a comprehensive hostage prisoner exchange to achieve a permanent ceasefire and complete withdrawal of Israeli forces. Looking ahead, Arab leaders met in Riyadh to discuss Gaza's post-war future, opposing US President Trump's controversial plan for the region. However, disagreements persist over who will govern and fund Gaza's reconstruction. Tripti Tripathi for TT India.
And joining me is my colleague Jessica Taneja. Jessica, take us through the latest developments of the hostage-prisoner exchange.
What we're given to understand at this point, Ramesh, is that the detainees, the Palestinian detainees, which remained within the Israeli prisons right now, will not be released anytime soon. Perhaps tomorrow is what we're given to understand, or no information to that effect has come into place, but that process still remains while the 6 hostages are released by Hamas, and they have been handed over now to the agencies of the Red Cross. So perhaps that was the last bit of the first phase, as we're given to understand. And now the negotiations for the second phase, which should start next week, but we're given to understand that an extension of this current ceasefire could also take place between the Israeli and the side of Hamas, which the reports that currently suggest is the fact that an extension would serve essentially the ground for continuation with this, because for the negotiations, as heard from the Hamas side as well, that the remaining 62 or 63 hostages all of them could be handed over to the Israeli side, out of which the Israeli government believes that 32 might be feared dead. So those numbers still to be confirmed from both the sides, but reports emerging from the region seem to suggest that the next phase would look at the hostages to be returned to Israel, and of course Hamas demanding that the Israeli troops withdraw from Gaza completely, which is not sort of in agreement with what the Israeli Defense Forces would want, especially when we talk about a few corridors, one of them in particular being the Philadelphia corridor, which according to the IDF has served as one of the tunnel bases which has allowed the movement of arms and other ammunitions that has been able to rearm Hamas, and that is certainly not acceptable with the idea, while Hamas says that a complete removal of Israeli forces is what will drive the next stage of the ceasefire agreement.
Right, we'll leave it there. Jessica, thank you. Appreciate it.